What is up YouTube? This is Zane from Team Judgment, and today I'm coming at you with an update for my Yosenju deck for the April 2015 format. We're in June now. Yeah, I picked up Lose One Turns finally, so I thought I'd try and play Lose One Turns in Yosenju. So this is my build with Lose One Turn. I made a couple of changes here and there since my last profile, which is about a month and a half ago. So yeah, let's get straight in. Start off with the main deck. Start off with running 3 copies of Yosenju Camera 1, 3 copies of Yosenju Camera 2, and then obviously 3 copies of Yosenju Camera 3. This is just the core body of monsters. You search them out by Tenki. You need 3 of each in my opinion. They all provide different functions to the deck, and they all bring something new to the table, unique. So yeah, so 3 of each of those. Then I'm also running 3 copies of Yosenju Sujik. Forgive me, I'm still rocking that one Sujik. I just haven't had the means to pick up the other 2. But Yosenju Sujik has always been a good card in my opinion. It's got a built-in honest effect. It's quite nice. So yeah, so 3 copies of Sujik in the deck. And then lastly, for the monsters, I'm running 1 copy of Thunder King Ryo. If you can get to this card first before your opponent does, and you're playing Necros or some meta deck like that, this can absolutely change the game. It's such a broken and powerful card. It locks your opponent out of playing Yu-Gi-Oh! 9 times out of 10, and it's hard to actually find. Although it only has 1900 attack, it's pretty relevant in the sense that they can't really find an answer for it most of the time, so it ends up winning you the game. So Thunder King Ryo, I'm a big advocate of running that in Yosenju. Next up, I'm running 3 copies of Fire Formation Tenki. Some people run this at 2. I strongly disagree. I still think you need 3, because even if you don't need to search, you don't need to search your Yosenju monster, they're still thinning out your deck. The same mentality as using Upstart Goblins. So I'm a big fan of running 3 Tenki. And next up, I'm running 3 copies of Duality. You don't do an awful lot of special summoning in this deck. You don't really need to at all. You can just survive with normal summoning, poking your monster, your opponent for damage, and returning that monster to your hand. So having the 3 copies of Duality definitely does help. Basically, it doesn't really have many drawbacks in this deck, and it helps so much with consistency. Just being able to choose what you add to your hand is ridiculous. I'd definitely run it out over Upstart in this deck 9 times out of 10, so 3 copies of Duality. Next up, I'm running 2 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon, because due to Lose One Turn actually being a card, Cleaforts are seeing more play, they're becoming more relevant, and having the MST there just to deal with their Cleafort Scouts and their Lose One Turns and their skill drains and all those pesky cards is vital to like staying in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And not getting locked out. Something else I like doing in this format is running 2 copies of Dark Hole. I like Dark Hole in this deck. You don't actually have a lot of field presence in this deck, which can be a drawback. However, it enables you to run cards like Dark Hole, just mass destruction cards that would otherwise set you back. But because you don't have any monsters, it doesn't really hurt you too much. So it does more damage to your opponent. So I'm running 2 copies of Dark Hole. I've always liked Dark Hole. It's just a really good card. And to go to Dark Hole, I'm running 1 copy of Raigeki. It's basically the same thing if you activate it at the same time. So 1 copy of Raigeki, 1 copy of Dark Hole. 2 copies of Dark Hole, so what am I saying? On to traps. Something you probably see this in all my deck profiles. I'm running 3 copies of Mind Crush. I absolutely love this card, this format. I would run mistakes, however, I don't actually have mistakes. If you have mistakes, you can just as easily swap these out, but they both pretty much serve the same function, by which they stop your opponent from searching, which is really good. And this lets you see your opponent's hand, which makes it slightly better than Mistake in that respect. So 3 copies of Mind Crush is it's quite popular in my opinion. I've seen a lot of people run it, and I'm a big fan of 3 Mind Crush. Just flipping this when your opponent thinks they're about to OTK you and they search the combo piece, just ruin them, and you get to see their hands, and you can play around what they have to throw at you. So yeah, 3 copies of Mind Crush. Next up, I'm also running 3 copies of Mirror Force. Mirror Force, it just blows your opponent away. It's such a wow card. If your opponent doesn't see it coming. The same thing with Dark Hole and Raigeki. I'm running 6 forms of mass destruction, which is really good because it leaves your opponent's field empty, and you can just poke in with small attacks with your Yosenju monsters and return them to your hand to win that way. So that's really the win condition. It's just to keep poking and then returning it and then stopping your opponent and poke again. That's more or less the win condition of this deck. So having 3 Mirror Force helps as well. So that is it for the 3 ofs. On to 2 ofs. I'm running 2 copies of Break for Skill. I might swap these out with Phoenix Chain. I'm still uncertain. I understand that Phoenix Chain prevents your opponent from attacking, which can help you if you don't have a lot of field presence. But Break for Skill for now has been working out okay for me. So 2 Break for Skill. Next up, running 2 Lose One Turns. The MVP of the deck. This card's ridiculously good. It locks your opponent. They just can't do anything. When they special summon a monster, negate its effects, change it to defense position. It's basically rendered useless for a whole turn. So the name does what it says in the tin. It sets your opponent back a turn. That's why it's called Lose One Turn. It's such a good card. I love it in this deck. It really does piss your opponent off. And this deck is all about floodgates. So yeah. So 2 copies of Lose One Turn. For the 1 ofs, I'm running 1 copy of Dimensional Prison, just as a nice form of spot removal. 1 copy of Bottomless Trap Hole. 1 copy of Torrential Tribute. 1 copy of Vanity's Emptiness. And then 1 copy of Compulse. And lastly, 1 copy of Solemn Warning. So that rounds up the main deck. onto the extra deck, I'm running, let's just move this aside. And the extra deck is a bit incomplete, but you will see that in a second. I'm running the standard Castel, Exiton. Let's do it this way: Castel, Exiton, Harpy's Pet Phantasmal Dragon. This card is a win condition in some circumstances. Tiger King. These are more of the archetype specific, but I don't actually have a Lightning Chidori. I just haven't felt the need to pick one up. I've been playing this deck for fun. I haven't taken it to any major tournaments yet, so Lightning Chidori. I've just borrowed it if I actually ever play this at a tournament. So this should be a Lightning Chidori, guys. One copy of Gaga Cowboy, one copy of Ragnar Zero, one copy of Number 101 Silent Honor Arc, one copy of Abyss Dweller, one copy of Samurai. I might actually cut this, it's not been testing too well. One copy of Black Ship of Corn, one Heartland Draco. You run a lot of spells in this deck. One copy of Lavarval Chain. I don't know why I'm running this, because it's Chain. You stack your own deck. And then something else I like running this format is one copy of, I don't actually have the cards, forgive me for this, but one copy of Telenite Ptolemaeus, and then one copy of Constellanite Diamond. So you can, if you're playing against the Shadows, you just go into Ptolemaeus and you overlay for Diamond, and it locks them out of playing the game. It negates all their monsters' effects. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. This is Zane from Team Judgment Yu-Gi-Oh! Signing out. Bye.